The Immigration Service processes thousands of naturalization applications every year. And so what each office does a little bit differently. For the most part, what happens at a naturalization interview is you're brought in, you're put under oath, you're videotaped for the interview, and they ask you the questions on the test. They ask you to write out a sentence in English. They ask you to read a sentence in English. They ask you those 10 questions on civics, and once you get those right, you're checked off as having passed the exam, and then they go over your application. They want to know where you live, whether you've been in any groups or any criminal activity. They ask you all these sort of, some people view them as silly questions. My favorite one is, have you ever committed a crime for which you were not arrested? It's sort of like, have you stopped beating your wife? It's like the question's designed to get you in trouble. But there's a long series of questions. Have you ever been a habitual drunkard, a prostitute? All these kinds of crazy things that most people just say no, no, no. After they go through the application, after you've passed your test, there's some forms you have to sign. You have to tell them whether or not you want to change your name, because one of the benefits of naturalization is if you want to change your name or to tweak the spelling of your name to make sure that it comports with all of your immigration paperwork, you can do that at that time. And once you're approved, in most jurisdictions, you'll be scheduled down the road for a naturalization ceremony. In some places, the immigration officer is empowered to go ahead and naturalize you there on the spot. That's sort of the minority. For the most part, the Immigration Service schedules naturalization ceremonies on sort of a monthly basis, and they get everyone who's passed the test that month into the ceremony. At the ceremony itself, you'll be given some paperwork, and on that paperwork, they'll ask you, since your interview, have you left the country? Have you been arrested? Have you been divorced? And those questions are really important when you answer those, because you have to answer them truthfully, and sometimes people get tripped up in the time between their interview and the ceremony. So if you do get in any kind of trouble in that time period, it's really important to talk to an immigration attorney to make sure that you're still going to be approved when you show up at the ceremony.